Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. Gentlemen, it is episode 250.
Woo!
250. It is February 1st. You'll be watching this on the 2nd or later, and man, this episode's looking pretty glum. Oof. We'll be talking about things that are uncertain, things that are already happened or happening that are absolutely certain, and then questioning the reliability of things. And I'm changing my, I am actually going to add to my bomb, which was a dub bomb, which I'll still give because it's warranted. But we're going to go throw an A bomb on there too. So.
It's going to be the totally negative podcast.
All right, so let's get the hosts on here. Mr. Jason Winter, what's up, sir?
Pretty good. I'm glad that, you got the memo to wear a gray sweatshirt today, unlike everyone else, apparently.
I did. Normally, I always try to keep a collared shirt on for casts and things like that, but I'll be disappearing right from here to the gym, so you gotta make do.
I'm not working out or anything. I'm just sitting on my ass.
Gotta make do. Also on the line, sans gray sweatshirt, Troy Blackburn. What's up, Noob Fridge?
Hey, welcome to the land of the dying game, and I'm wearing black today because the moment we get done, I have to get up and go to work, and black is the color I have to wear under my work shirt, so.
Likely story.
But it makes me look so slim.
It's very slimming on you, sir. It's very slimming on you. Well, let's slide over and get started with the bad news. Oh, boy. All right, so we're going to kind of take this in order of smallest to largest, and that's not necessarily player base we're talking about. We're talking about like news-wise smallest to largest. So let's start with Linkrealms. Linkrealms is closing down. It closed. it like closed, and it was done through an email blast that came out. Depending on where you are, January 29th or 30th, that said the game's going to be closing down at the end of the month. On January 29th or 30th, roughly around there is when most people got their emails, it was going to close at the end of the month. And if you don't find that amusing, the end of the month was the 31st. The next day. And there's a lot of people that may not even know what Linkrealms was, Jason. So give us a little bit. Jason's one of them.
Yep. You put me on that list.
Well, on the bright side, it looks like the game page for it was done before I was doing game pages, and I'm just like YOLO. I'm going to write like 25 words or whatever. There's like, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs on Linkrealms. More on the game page I think we've ever written about it. That's
news. Probably about right.
It says player-driven economy, classless gameplay, land ownership. Very much was a sandbox MMORPG. It says harks back to the roots of classic online role-playing games where the community was the center of the user experience. Looking at the graphics too, I can see it does have that kind of older look to it. Looks kind of like an orthogonal or whatever you want to call it, like an ARPG kind of look to it. So yeah, it was definitely very much older, very niche, very not the sort of thing that you see a whole lot of in like, modern MMOs. Definitely trying to appeal to that certain audience that wanted that older experience.
Yeah, and in the wake of the shutdown, the developers over at Mythin Interactive, they actually recommend, to give you an idea of the type of game, if you played and you're looking for something else, they recommend Ultima Online, Fractured, Legends of Aria, which formerly was Shards, I think.
Shards of Alaria or whatever. Yeah, I remember that.
Wasn't it Shards? Now it's Legends of Aria. So that
I know less about that than I do about Linkrealms.
That type of game. And to Jason's point, Troy, there is our game page, right, which was created September 30th, 2015, and then 3 news posts since then about Linkrealms. I mean, we didn't even do a first look. I mean, because there's some games, there's sites out there that do first looks for every single damn thing that comes out. We kind of take the stance on, we would rather put out a first look every week or two and have it be entertaining, or because it's a bigger game or a known game or at least a decent game for us to show off. Like right now, I'm battling with myself internally on whether to do a first look for Dead Maze or not, which just went into beta and is going to launch in a couple of weeks here. I don't know if I'm going to do the first look on it because it's really freaking boring to watch. I'm trying to get into the game a little bit to see if there's something entertaining. And that's not saying the game's bad, Troy. It's just a 2D zombie killing, crafting, work together, sandboxy thing, which generally doesn't lend itself to very entertaining first looks. So Linkrealms, Troy, we've got the game post and 3 news articles. Now, the game page was put up in September 30th, 2015. We covered their coming to Steam early access, which was about 8 months later, May of 2016. Then they kicked off the free-to-play, October of 2016. And that's it until it shut down January 31st, 2018. So not a lot out there. I don't think there's going to be too many people disappointed. But this is the type of game, Troy, that I think the followers they do have are looking for something very specific, right?
Yeah, definitely so. And another game you mentioned, which isn't a free-to-play, I'm pretty sure, Legends of Aria.
No,
they're in the middle of their they're in the middle of their beta push right now. And this is kind of makes me question, what is the longevity future for that game? Because you've got games like this who are trying to fill that niche, but they couldn't generate enough players to keep interest. So you look at a game like Legends of Aria, who are right now in their big push. Does that mean they're going to be able to pull in enough players? Yes, there are definitely players out there looking for this sort of thing, but is it enough to sustain a game going forward? I guess is the real question right now.
Particularly with Legends of Aria being in the buy-to-play category and seeing Linkrealms go this way in the free-to-play category. Where you think they would have had a better chance, Jason.
Yeah, man, I'm looking at the Steam charts page for Linkrealms. It peaked during its launch month in May 2016 at an average of 16.6 players. 16 players. Peak was 46. So at most they had another month they had 47. So at most they had around 50 people online at once. So that's
and yeah, Shards Online is Legends of Aria. I was pretty sure that was the name change for them. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Troy.
You gotta. I even hesitate to use these words. A free-to-play version of UO coming in the near future. So
yeah, we talked about that on this cast.
I didn't. I'm not even sure I want to use those words with that, but that's the easiest way to kind of communicate what they're trying to do, I guess.
Right. Well, here's again. We talk about PR and bad PR and PR press releases. You got to respect the way they release this, Jason. To quote from the release, "Here we are at the end. I suppose everyone had a sense that this announcement was coming. The Linkrealms servers will be shutting down at the end of the month. Linkrealms was the result of endless hours of hard work and investment, creativity, and dedication, but it never achieved any traction in the real-world market. The game has been coasting down for a year, and now there's nothing left to fund the servers. Reality has caught up with us all." Pretty blunt.
I'm just getting tired of all the press releases because we'll see a little bit more of this. We'll see we put in countless hours. It never got traction. It never quite found its audience. Maybe that makes it sound so passive. Like it just didn't happen. We don't know why. Maybe it's because you weren't very good at it. I'm just going to throw that out there as a possibility.
I don't get that sense from this release, though. But they're not saying like the market wasn't there or anything. They just say, but it never achieved any traction in the real world market.
Why? Why didn't it achieve any traction?
Come on, we all know. The audience for this type of game is already small to begin with.
Yeah.
And if you don't have something unique or mind-blowing about it to really capture a big portion of that already small, we already know.
Well, in other words, if you don't create something amazing, it's not going to do well. So that's what I'm saying.
Troy, Jason is only going to be happy when he sees that press release that is like, so-and-so game is closing down because we're epic fucking failures. We don't know.
That was Marvel Heroes, yeah, but
No, we never got that.
Oh, yeah. See, Marvel Heroes at least shut down because of, they actually did shut down because of epic failure by them, but at least it didn't not find a market or something like that.
Yeah, but Mum was
a bad game.
Mum was the word from them, and then when they did say something, they were like, "Don't believe that shit you read on the internet." We handle stuff internally and couldn't talk about it legally, and that's even if it happened.
Yeah, just ignore all that stuff that we stayed completely silent about for months. That's not a thing.
We'll play taps for Linkrealms here. Moving on, getting slightly bigger on the shutdown list. Gigantic. I don't think this comes as a surprise to anybody on this cast.
Not at this point.
This is It's what, third time this game shut down? Now that I think about it, it's at least the second.
That's harsh.
I mean, it is. It's at least the second.
Well, they never really shut down. They just laid off everybody.
Right. Yeah. Semantics.
And we're looking for new publishers. You know, we don't have any developers or any publishers. And I guess therein lies the problem with this game, right? Like it was always in trouble. Like it didn't go long periods of being like, oh, we're a solid studio. This is a solid game. You know, you can jump in and feel confident going forward. This has been a rocky road for this game going forward, and they just never had the opportunity to gain the trust of a player base. Opinion here, my opinion. That's what it was for me. Like every time you thought, oh, hey, maybe it's time to jump back into Gigantic and take a look at it, the next freaking day something would be like, oh, now we're a Windows Store only game. And now we're not even that, and now we're with Perfect World, and then you got to take a moment to be, oh shit, Perfect World, I better wait and see what's up. Then about the time you're like, okay, maybe Perfect World ain't gonna fuck it up too much, then the game's gone. So it's been like that from the beginning, and that's unfortunate because they had an interesting fun little game when you actually got in and played it, but there was just no opportunity to gain confidence in that studio and in the game that going forward it was going to have any sort of longevity.
I think that's a fair assessment. I remember years ago being with Game Breaker and Jason, we started getting information about this game. And this was one you weren't like, yeah, but this was one that you were willing to give a shot to. We're looking forward till it came out. You had some contacts there, so you had some additional information that, some people might not have had at the time. And something you were watching with some high hopes on it. And it just never panned out.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty about it right off because first time I saw it was when the other Mike B did a video. Yeah, they just flew him up to their studio. He did some videos with interviews and gameplay, and I was like, wow, that looks pretty cool. Then about 4 months later, Blizzard announced Overwatch.
Yep.
And that just kind of sucked up everything. Granted, it wasn't out yet, and I wasn't that into it. And I went to PAX South in 2015. Gigantic had a huge presence there. I got to play the game, and I really enjoyed it. Really wanted to play more. But then, like you said, they had that whole Windows 10 thing. They were going to be a Windows 10 exclusive.
Which we called out right at the beginning was a bad idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
On this cast.
Sea of Thieves. Hey, Sea of Thieves. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well, at least Sea of Thieves is going to the Xbox One, too. So.
But in 2015, that was a terrible decision. And then something went wrong. I don't know exactly what the details were, but something went wrong with them and Microsoft. And that was what caused a lot of their problems, why they spent so much money on their conventions and whatnot in 2015, thinking they would launch around the end of that year, maybe early part of the next year. When that didn't happen, they ran out of money and then started laying people off, like you said. And then for about 6 to 9 months, it looked like a pretty solid game. It was going to be fine, seeing all the news and whatever. But then after those first few delays, in latter part of 15, it just became uncertain from then on out. And then, like I said, Overwatch came out, about early 2016, I think. And then it just sucked up that whole audience, that whole hero shooter audience. And then other games, whatever, like Paladins and whatnot, they came out, kind of filled that free-to-play mold that, if you didn't want to pay for Overwatch, you did that. And there was just no more room for Gigantic.
Yeah, and this one I'm actually seeing across the internet quite a bit of sadness for. I'm not seeing anybody, like on the Linkrealms type post, you have the people that go, okay, this should have come out 20 years ago anyway, rest in peace, glad it's dead. I'm generally not seeing that with Gigantic. And there was a lot of hope for this one, Troy, particularly when Perfect World picked it up. And they ended up rehiring a bunch of people to bring them back. You do have a while to play this one, though. It's shutting down, but not until July 31st. So you have a good 5 months here to jump in and play this one if you want to. Obviously, we don't expect that would change anything once you announce a shutdown. But all the heroes are free, purchases are disabled, so you can go and run amok in Gigantic for 5 months here. And ironically, Troy, I thought this was pretty funny in a ironic way, not a ha-ha way. The game announced its shutdown as it was releasing its latest update, which will be its last update. Thoughts on this one, Troy?
It's just unfortunate. I think Jason brought up a good point, too. Not only, the thing with them not being able to really gain confidence that I was talking about, Jason brought up a great point that when this game had its first initial hype round, there was a nice little niche market for this because it's a tweener MOBA hero shooter kind of thing, and there was not a lot out there like that. But by the time they get around to producing something that's remotely playable, all of a sudden the juggernaut that is Overwatch is on the market. And so it's just, it's just bad timing and just rocky road from the beginning. It just didn't add up, unfortunately. It was a game that I wanted to enjoy a whole lot too. So
I also remember I'm pretty sure this was gigantic, Jason. This was one that they spent a fortune on marketing. And when they were doing that and there was hype for this game, it was under one of the longest NDAs that I can remember. As far as actually getting footage out and players into sharing it for something that people were hyped about. I'm looking at our article back on February 11th, 2016, that talks about the budget of the game may be a bit too much here and hurt Motiga badly. And I can't help but read one viewer's comment, Deathlock, we love you, comments about everything. I can't help but agree with this. Motiga are destined to become the next Red 5 Studios. And it kind of played out that way for Motiga.
Very similar.
They weren't purchased by a Chinese textile company or whatever it is. Yeah.
No, they were acquired by Asian Perfect World Entertainment. So they don't make blankets.
Okay.
Jumping up one more, Troy. Wow. So we didn't have a cast last week because I was ill. But literally the week before, the last free-to-play cast, we talked about Paragon from Epic Games releasing a statement about how they were moving developers from Paragon to Fortnite Battle Royale, and that they were still going to make content. They had plans for marketing. They were still trying to find some traction with an audience, and we brought up different points like, how are you going to grow your player base by holding that marketing plan in your pocket until you have a bigger player base? There were some things in that press release that just didn't make sense. And we speculated that this is a death knell for the game. It is. Even though this isn't a closure announcement, you're basically telling any potential players, there ain't enough of you, so we're taking resources to our $89 million a month game. Not surprisingly, 2 weeks later, here we are talking about Paragon officially shutting down on April 26th, Troy.
I guess if you watched the previous free-to-play cast, it wasn't that big of a shock. It's a little sooner than I thought that would be. I thought they would give that, hey, we're in trouble announcement a little more time to breathe than 2 weeks here. But at the end of the day, it's sad because, I mean, just like Gigantic, this game had a ton of potential. It had a ton of hype at the beginning. But there again, at the time it had its initial hype run, it was a buggy, boring, unplayable mess. And so that's... I mean, you hear the old saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Maybe that's what actually happened here is like, look at this game. It's on the Unreal Engine. It looks amazing. Let's get, it's third person MOBA. Let's get in and check it out. And, when the biggest group jumped in, it was like, well, it's boring. It's long. It's repetitive. It's buggy. It's messy. It doesn't run great. It's not optimized well. What is this? And that just kind of became the definition of what Paragon is to a lot of folks. Now, I'm not saying that's what it was at the end. I've played Paragon there at the end. It was, optimization was better. The game was far less buggy. But, never get a second chance to make a first impression. And unfortunately, that's what Epic did with that game. It just... it got that from the beginning, and it never was able to recover from that.
Jason, I'm going to let you answer this question because there's a common argument that you're seeing for Paragon here right now when it comes to Epic Games, is that not that Paragon itself failed, which, arguably the previous 2 games we talked about, that's what happened. The games failed. They led to close down. Particularly from Paragon players, we're seeing a lot of the argument of Epic Games just made a decision. Fortnite Battle Royale just makes too much money. They're pulling the devs over there to keep that going. It's not necessarily that Paragon had no players to support it. They just made a choice. We need to move everybody because this is our priority now, and Paragon gets lost in that shuffle. I don't know how much merit there is to that, but what do you think?
I mean, I think you have to know exactly what the money is. If it's 89 million for Battle Royale, and Paragon's bringing in 500 grand or something, then yeah, I can see that. I can see not wanting to bother with the other game. The thing that I thought about actually while I was writing this was Nosgoth, which I thought about. Psyonix made Nosgoth. No, Psyonix was the developer.
It was published by Square Enix, wasn't it? Although, sure, wait, we weren't allowed to say that after a while, right? Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
There was it that? No. It was
Triad
Wars. That's it.
That was it. Yeah,
that was the one. Go ahead. Right. Sorry, Nosgoth.
But yeah, Psyonix was the developer of Nosgoth. It came out. Then about a year later, so they put out this other game called Rocket League, and then Nosgoth just and they
Nosgoth was a fun game too.
No, I agree. I really like
Jason played that damn thing all the time.
I played a lot of that. I played level 20 or something. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's what it sort of feels the same way. Like if let's say Rocket League hadn't come along, would they have kept the money, kept the development in Nosgoth? Yeah, maybe. Now same thing here. If Battle Royale hadn't taken off, would Paragon still be? Would they stick with Paragon and keep trying to work on that? Yeah, maybe, because they wouldn't have anything else really. And of course, you see other situations where you have a big successful game and they let the other game just kind of stick around in maintenance mode. So maybe that would have been an option too. I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are, what they think they need to do. So, just how they decided to handle this case.
Yeah, and here's the thing, though. I think the closure announcement, Troy, came so close to the original. We're just going to slow down content that pissed a lot of people off. Like, I'm going to read Skullbash's comment from the closing article. I don't think a lot of people realize that they specifically said they would be slowing down updates to this game because they were pulling the devs to work on their copycat of a Battle Royale game, Fortnite Battle Royale. I mean, that was their first press release. Skullbash is dead on. We're going to slow down content. We've got some plans. We need to get players. We realize that. We also have to do some stuff on Battle Royale. Skullbash continues, the reason for them doing this isn't because of a lack of players of Paragon or lack of support, so the argument I was just bringing up to Jason. Lack of support they were getting. They're doing this because they value the quick money they are making from Fortnite Battle Royale over their other original content and communities who enjoy them. And I can't say that Skullbash is wrong. I also can't blame Epic Games, right? If I'm running a business and I've got one product down here and one on here, up here, it makes sense for me to shift resources and maybe even discontinue this product. I can't blame Epic Games for that decision. I can blame them for even putting out that first press release that kind of gave Paragon players a heads up on, your content's going to slow down, Jason, but we still haven't given up on this one yet. And 2 weeks later, you're shutting it down. I can fault them for that.
Yeah, that is kind of a bad way to handle things. Maybe they looked at their numbers and saw just that it was going down so precipitously that they just reevaluated it and said, no, never mind. But yeah, doing it in that order in such a short period of time does seem a little iffy.
Troy, the silver lining around this gray cloud, though, is Epic kind of going out of their way here. They are offering a full refund to every player for every purchase made in the game on any platform. And you could argue it's really easy to do that when you're making $90 bajillion a month on another game, but they didn't have to do that.
But if you're going to say that Battle Royale is the reason this game is shutting down, you also have to acknowledge that Battle Royale is the reason you're getting a full refund on anything you've ever purchased in this game.
And they get a huge thumbs up on this part for me. It's the best of a bad situation, and it does. I'm sure people would have been happy with the typical thing we see, Jason, refunds for purchases within the last 30 days.
Something like that.
Yeah, they're kind of going out of their way for this one, and so at least they get a thumbs up there. On this topic, though,
I love this. This is great.
Go ahead, Troy. I'm going to let you take this one, because this is something we see more and more with games being shut down. And never once, if there's an example that you know of, put it in the comments below, please, for me. Never once has this, in the history of man, worked. But, Troy, what's going on?
Well, if you go to Reddit to any active game currently, they're all dying, by the way. Go to any game subreddit, and they're all dying until the game actually dies. Now, there are 20,000 signatures on a petition that is intended to try to save Paragon. And to this I say, if there were 20,000 people playing Paragon, you would not have this to have this petition right now.
It's almost
You would
30,000.
still-
29,658.
Still have a game.
Almost
If that
30
many
grand.
people were actually playing the game. Where were you when there was a game to be played? I don't even mean that facetiously. I'm serious. Where were you if there are 20,000 people who want to save Paragon? There were not 20,000 people playing this game on a daily basis. If you were there, we probably wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard because you were talking, Troy. It's almost 30,000 now.
Almost 30,000 now.
Yeah.
Well, there.
Oh,
Look at-
three
look at how
people
much
just
more money.
signed it as I'm watching. 4 people have just signed. People are still signing this. 5 people, 6, 7. It's going to hit 30,000 here probably before the end of the free-to-play
It
cast.
means nothing because you weren't playing the game when you had a chance to. It really doesn't. And I'm not trying to just be a jerk and be an asshole or call you out until you're stupid. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying this petition means nothing because you 30,000 were not there to play the game. You weren't playing the game. Why do you want it saved? That's a good question right there. Why do you want it saved if you weren't playing it to begin with? There's no way there were 30,000 people on a daily
It's
basis.
the same reason people who didn't play City of Heroes for its last 5 years were upset that it shut down.
Yeah.
Let me ask you gents this, though, because I was thinking about this. We've never seen this type of petition work to save a game. And again, if you have an example that isn't like Jim's game.
And all the calls for Epic to sell the game, that's not going to happen either.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to sell it. I wouldn't. I'd be a little more inclined to be NCSoft and sell City of Heroes than I would be to be Epic Games and sell Paragon. Because I just have a feeling they're not quite done with this license. I don't know if they would bring it back in this type of capacity. I just don't think they're done with the IP.
They're going to bring a card game if they do anything with it.
God.
God, 'cause
So-
this
so
is
anyway.
one of those where there's got to be cards involved in a non-card game. So by God, let's just make a card game out of it.
Well, here, let me put this out there, because obviously, you're not going to get a petition for them to say, okay, let's bring the game back up and we'll put out content slowly. That's just not going to happen. To your point, if these people were playing the game, we wouldn't be in this situation. And it's weird for me because we're talking about a game that, even though I'm not really into MOBAs, I did enjoy this. After my first look, I had one gripe. It was too slow.
Mm-hmm.
That was my only real gripe about the game, was it's too slow. And they had done things to speed it up after that, because everybody said that. So we're not talking about, to me, even though it's a MOBA, I'm not talking about a trash game that I don't care about.
Mm-hmm.
What would you guys think if you were Epic Games and we said, oh, here's a petition to keep the game live, keep the shop live, everything as it is right now. You can still make whatever little bit of money you make off of it. We'll still use the shop under the big disclaimer of this game will never be updated again. If Epic Games just said, fine, we'll leave a server on, we'll leave a cash shop on, you can go ahead and play it, but don't look for any new characters, balancing. It's just going to stay the way it is forever in maintenance mode. Do you think that a company like Epic might actually consider that for a minute or two? Not saying they do it, but as a business, if you were running Epic Games, Troy, would you consider it?
No, not for a second. I'd rather just pull the Band-Aid off, get the bad press, everybody's mad at me, out of the way, and be done with it, because you got the potential going forward. Eventually, even if you make that big statement up front, eventually people are going to be like, man, there's 8 of us here. We're queuing up for a game every 30 minutes. Why aren't they giving us content? Why aren't they giving us heroes? Man, if they would just throw us one hero, that would be great. That's how it starts. And then it snowballs back into exactly where it was when they decided they were going to shut it down, as nothing's happening and it doesn't have any true player retention, but the players are still expecting things regardless of an announcement you put out if they had to have it.
Yeah, and there is the consideration that at the end of the day, this is a MOBA. We're not talking about keeping an MMORPG online where I can go in and myself and do a bunch of shit, or the 3 of us can team up and run dungeons and stuff. This is a MOBA that does require a certain player base to be able to even have a match, Jason. So is it something you would even consider as Epic Games CEO Jason Winter?
I was going to say the exact same thing as Troy. It's like, I don't know what the queue times are now, but they'll be even worse once your game is dead. And if you're sitting around waiting half an hour or 45 minutes for a match, and then you get into it and it's, I'm new to the game and I'm rank 5, someone else is rank 30 and is going to just pound the hell out of me. they're going to leave just that much faster. So I don't really see much point in keeping it around. If they already had a low enough population that this was probably an issue to begin with, it's only going to get worse. So.
Well, there you go. I don't know. For a few minutes, I kind of thought about, well, yeah, I mean, how much could one server cost for that type of player base that they have now, and the goodwill you would build up in that type of situation? I mean, that would even leak into Fortnite.
That's the thing. I don't think you build goodwill with that.
No,
I think initially it sounds good.
You build goodwill, but the problem I ran into was it's a MOBA. You have to have X number of players per match, and timing becomes an issue. So then my mind
playing bots.
Then my mind said, Dick. Then my mind said, well, what if you restricted the servers to certain times? And then I was like, well, if you're going to do that, just shut it down at that point. So to make it viable as a freebie goodwill gesture, it would kind of be pointless anyway. But hey, good luck to the petition. I don't know. Moving on to not shut down, at least yet. I wanted to ask you gents a question here, because we've got a couple things happening. First, what I think we should start with is that one of our viewers predicted back at the beginning, the end of 2017 into 2018, their New Year prediction was that Star Wars: The Old Republic from BioWare and EA would go into not a closure or a maintenance mode, but that their updates would become much, much fewer and far between this year, with the possibility that it would close. And when we talked about it on the show, all of us agreed it's not going to close this year, but we kind of saw some merit in the prediction that the content would become more and more spaced out this year, as BioWare is working on Anthem still, which got delayed but isn't a delay. Oh, okay, whatever. Whatever. It's not really technically delayed. Yeah, you delayed it to 2019, and I hate you for it. But
it'll be horribly disappointing anyway, man. Don't worry.
Oh, shut up! Don't say.
Don't get your hopes up.
Shut up. I hate you.
Destiny 2.5.
And I could, if I'm BioWare, I am terrified at the prospects of Anthem right now.
Oh, they are.
I'm absolutely terrified, and we've seen reporting that suggests that they are. Nobody on the record, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, it's like if this does not succeed, BioWare is going to look very different in a year. BioWare Montreal was sucked up and absorbed after Mass Effect Andromeda, wasn't it? So yeah, and then you have the whole EA's behind it, and the Battlefront 2, and the loot boxes, and games as services, and God, poor BioWare. I really feel for them, and I hope they knock it out of the park, because I'm really looking forward to that game. But I wanted to ask, with this whole Anthem discussion, resources being pulled from BioWare's Star Wars games for Anthem, and how important that project is, and the lack of content that we've seen at the previous paces for Star Wars. Now, they did reveal their roadmap for the year, and it does include some new content. But I think there's a certain validity to this question at this point, given what's happened over the last 30, 45 days, Jason, on will Star Wars: The Old Republic make it through 2018? I think it's a perfectly valid question, given the position of BioWare, Anthem, EA's view of games as services, the content being spaced out. What are your thoughts?
Nah, it'll stick around.
You think it makes the year out? Why?
Absolutely 100%. I think this, first of all, is a little invented. I think it's, to some degree, yeah, sure, maybe they're taking a few people off. Sure, SWTOR is shutting down a little bit, but it doesn't have that feel of a game that's just, on death's door. That sort of thing is going to get pulled out right away. There's still a lot of money invested in it. Still probably has a pretty good amount of players. I just don't see it as a sort of thing that is going to go away that soon. I think maybe after Anthem launches, especially depending on how it does, in a year or two, and I maybe even after, this is something I predicted a long time ago. I was like, when they first signed the thing, when they first Disney first got Star Wars, and they were making 3 new movies, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the SWTOR goes away and someone makes an MMO based on the next 3 movies. But if that's going to happen, that won't be for another few years, 2, 3, 4 years at least. Like, even if they were starting on it today, they would take 4+ years. So I think that it could wind down a little bit. I think it could slow down a bit. And we were talking about something else. We were talking about WildStar and how it doesn't have any content, officially announced. I go to the news page on SWTOR, and the last 4 posts are all about, hey, here's what's in the cartel market. That's their entire news for the last month. But apparently they do have some stuff announced. They put in dev blogs or forum posts or whatever, not quite as promptly visible and so forth. So I think they're not going away this year. Could they a year or two after that, depending on how things go, how things look? Maybe I could see it there, but I don't think this is a harbinger of the death knell of SWTOR, not just yet.
Troy?
Gentlemen, we've been doing this a long time. Over those years, I've become a very firm believer in where there's smoke, there's at least a tiny little fire. I have no doubt that conversation has at least been had. Now, the decision was probably made, no, we're not going to shutter the game or nothing like that. I have no doubt that conversation has been had, and I think it relates to the bigger problems of BioWare, the name BioWare, even though they're a bunch of little studios. But from what we gather, EA is considering, and these are just reports, speculation, rumor, and there again, where there's smoke, there's at least a little fire, that, Anthem could be the future of the name of BioWare as we know it. Not that BioWare that exists in 2018 is the BioWare that we grew to love before EA consumed them and turned them into EA BioWare or whatever. But so I think, I agree with Jason. I don't think SWTOR is going anywhere this year. But, if Anthem doesn't do well, we could be looking potentially at just anything and everything that has BioWare's name on it, just going away and being sucked into EA Studios. And that's the last we hear of BioWare.
All right, so here's my thoughts on it. And you might be asking, if you go and read news on the site, why didn't we cover this? Why isn't there a news article about this whole shift of resources and scary stuff? And Jason and I, we debate things on what we're going to cover sometimes, but we both flat out agreed with this one right off the bat, as we typically do when this is the case with news stories. We were not going to cover this because they were unsubstantiated claims. The articles and things that we had seen and were considering covering, no named sources. And we're okay with no-name sources, right? Because normally with our contacts, we can reach out and at least verify that something was said or something is going on, even though we may not be able to attribute a name to it ourselves if we typed it up. We're fine with that, but these were totally unsubstantiated. No names. I reached out to BioWare, got a reply that they were reviewing because I said I didn't want to write about this until we got word from BioWare. Even if it was just a no comment, that would at least give us what Jason and I wanted, was if we report on the unsubstantiated rumor, we can say we reached out to BioWare, they declined to comment. We're still waiting. Now, whether that means there is that fire, Troy, that you're talking about or not, I don't know. Take it as what you will. I think the best way to describe this for me is there's a lot of straws here that you could grasp at and say it's shutting down by the end of the year. I think they're just that, though, right now. Straws. I tend to agree with both of you. I wouldn't be surprised if it went to maintenance mode late this year after its upcoming expansion and everything, but I don't think it's shutting down. Unless EA really, really pissed off Disney. I mean, that could certainly factor into this, but I don't think it's ultimately going to shut down at the end of the year.
We've already seen the wrath of Disney one time.
Right,
recently.
with Gazillion, right? And I should point out that our mutual friend Larry Everett, huge Star Wars The Old Republic fan, also doesn't think the game's going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, he brings up a couple different points that none of us have brought up. We talked about content and then expansion. He mentions that there still seems to be a constant stream of communication with roadmaps and things like that. There's a new expansion coming in 2018. And lastly, his biggest point that he brought up was there were server mergers just recently, and that's usually not something that a game that's going to be planning to shut down even bothers to do, is merge the servers. But it'll be interesting to watch it. I will give it that. Last up, let's cast aspersions and some shade on Superdata. If you don't know what Superdata is, Jason, can you give us an overview of what the company does? And most of our viewers are going to know because we cover them for various fun stats and things like that. But just in case.
Oh, not so much anymore. We're not going to cover them. But no, they are a market research firm that puts out a lot of data and a lot of reports on the video gaming industry, all aspects of it, from free to play to consoles to esports, whatever. So yeah, that's what they do. They're like kind of like a Nielsen or any other kind of company that puts out all sorts of data like that, and usually pretty helpful. Can give you an idea of numbers that you don't necessarily know about. Because virtually no companies reveal their real numbers, or at least not to any great degree. But in theory, at least, Superdata has analysts who track these things and have their sources and so on, and produce some pretty solid numbers for us to go on. In theory. In theory.
And they give us fun talking points.
Yeah.
But that might be in question now, because the latest report does talk about the top free-to-play PC games by revenue in 2017, so for the entire year. And I don't think anybody's surprised League of Legends is on top, right?
Sure.
Nobody's really surprised there. But there's some not only surprising omissions to the chart, and some of their other charts that aren't specifically free-to-play, but there's some numbers that we're pretty sure we got the more reliable version already, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, like the NCSoft stuff, which we cover all the time, which
right now, the only thing we're missing for their whole 2017 is their Q4 report, which should be out shortly.
Right. So we have basically 3/4 of their year. We have 9 months out of the 12, and they're saying, Superdata is saying for 2017, they go on Blade and Soul and say it made $178 million in revenue in 2017. What we have, straight from NCSoft, so indisputably correct answers, it brought in, what did I have it at? 113 million. So it brought in 113 million through 9 months, and Superdata says it's going to bring in basically another 65 million in Q4, the last 3 months. That would make it the best quarter ever for Blade and Soul. Greater than when it launched, period. Greater than when it launched in the West and North America and Europe. So they're predicting apparently a record quarter, or they're just making something up. I don't know where they get that number from.
Now, and it could be, okay, they got one data point skewed, but as we go through the report, Troy, it's not just one data point that seems to be skewed here. Did Troy hang up on me?
No, I'm reading through this, just looking at all the, that's not even the only game that they've got that where it's just like bringing in just ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, look, Guild Wars 2, the way they've got it listed.
Yeah, so first off, Guild Wars 2 isn't listed as a free-to-play game, which, okay.
They've always done for whatever reason, I don't know.
Yeah, they've always done that, but fine, whatever. They have it listed as bringing in 87 million, and we have it, again from NCSoft, bringing in 44.6 million for the first 9 months. So we'll have to pretty much double its revenue in the last quarter last year. And there was an expansion, but really? Double?
Like the last expansion didn't even do that well in its first quarter. So,
Troy, here's the big question for you. Where's World of Warcraft?
Even on the top premium PC? Where is like the Lineage games, all the big games?
Well, the Lineage mobile game was on their mobile list, so at least they got that much right because that thing exploded. I was wondering about RuneScape even too, for free to play.
So here's the top premium PC games by revenue. So this isn't like box sales, or it's just total revenue. PUBG, 714 million, number 1. Overwatch, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Destiny 2, fuck you, Grand Theft Auto 5, Battlefield 1, Minecraft, Guild Wars 2, Divinity Original Sin 2, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Now, the number 10 spot is 67 million. I still have to believe that no matter what WoW's sub numbers have fallen to, Troy, they're making more than 67 million last year, right?
I mean, you're going to tell me that, like you're rated number 10. I'll go up to number 8, Guild Wars 2. You're going to tell me that WoW isn't still bringing in more money than Guild Wars 2?
Yeah.
I love Guild Wars 2, but come on, bro.
You know, if you do just some really basic math, let's say WoW it's just cratered. It's got 1 million subs, just 1 million. And those people are on some sort of great deal where they're only paying $10 a month for a sub. So that's 10 million per month, 120 million for the year. That alone would put it at number 5 on the list.
And there are more people
subs,
paying more money.
Bot sales, not counting, microtransactions. There's cash shop, nothing.
It's just really bizarre. I mean, and these reports, by the way, are not cheap. If you don't know, they release summary status for free.
This one was free.
Yeah, they released this type of summary status for free. But if you want an actual full Superdata report on any given time period or whatever, it's like $2,500.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is not cheap to get the full copies of these reports. And now I got to question them going forward, Jason. I don't think there's any other option but to question it, right?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be paying $2,500 for this or anything similar to it at this point.
It's bizarre. Bizarre. All right, let's move on and cover the weekly bombs. Troy, you're up, sir.
I want to give a dub bomb to everybody who disagrees with me about Bless Online.
Oh, the comments were fun.
In all seriousness, I love the fact that this game is so polarizing and that we can take sides on it. And, just stay respectful. I'll try to stay respectful, but it's fun. It's fun to
Notice
argue
he
back
didn't
and
say
forth.
He would, Jason. He said, I'll try. I'll try to stay respectful.
We may not make it through this comment section without losing that promise, but we'll try. But no, it's fun. Dude, it's fun. I've had so much fun debating Bless Online with folks. I love it.
Jason, you're up.
I'm going to give an A-bomb to the Washington, D.C. Metro bus system for the pain in the ass it cost me over the last month. So I put money in online, like I paid. I put in my credit card, just same as I'd done like a couple other times.
Oh, I saw your tweet about this.
Oh, man, I rode the bus 3 days later. It didn't register. Okay, fine. 3 days, maybe that's not enough time to figure it out. I rode the bus then like 14 days later, and it still didn't register. So I actually had to put more money in while I was at the bus. So then I finally called them up. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, you have to ride the bus on 3 different days for the money to be put in your account. I'm just like, what? Where does that come from? It's not listed anywhere in any of your sites. It didn't work that way before. Just suddenly, randomly, this is the new I went through several angry exchanges on Twitter with a representative.
Yes, but the bus is apparently safer than trains in the area.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
And
yeah.
Don't get on a train with any Congress people because they'll hit garbage trucks. So hope everybody involved in that accident is safe and gets better here. I'm going to give a dub bomb to Epic Games. This was my original dub bomb, only in the aspect of refunding all Paragon players. BR Money makes it easy to do, but they didn't really have to, and so kudos to them. But again, thumbs down on bad PR and bad messaging and press releasing. I gotta give an A-bomb though to WildStar, because Jason and I were talking before the show about some WildStar news, because they just posted their what's coming in February list. And so, are you a news site? Let's go see what's on there. Is there anything worth covering? And no, there isn't. There's 3 different events going on in game. Events in the month of February that you're used to, like a Valentine's Day type event, a double XP weekend type thing, and then some cash shop editions. That's their roadmap for the month of February. If you go back just on the 18th of January, Pappy posted his State of the Universe thing, 2018, that he does every year. And we didn't cover it because there was nothing to cover. It's 4 paragraphs, 3 of which recaps 2017. Okay. And then there's 1 paragraph that doesn't, even tease new content. It doesn't. It just, what can you expect in 2018? All the events of each year that you've come to love.
No, it says, what can you expect in 2018? We won't shut down.
Yeah, pretty much.
That literally is what he says, basically.
Yeah, it's multiple sentences of how committed Carbine and NCSoft are to the game. It's going to be open for the foreseeable future. And that's it. and just
I
events,
guess kudos to
events
them
that
for
you
that.
liked last year, expect to see them this year. Not even a tease of new content, which does WildStar make it through 2018 at this point?
Let's be real. Everybody said on this panel, how many times has WildStar proved you wrong when you said that they would or would not make it past the end of whatever year we're in? No phone. Twice for me. They've proven me wrong twice. I've predicted their demise twice. I was completely wrong.
I made the official prediction in my predictions for this year. This was going to be the last year, so and I'm sticking to it. now, 2 months ago, also, Perfect World said Gigantic was going to stick around. So
right when we reached out to them about layoffs, which we specifically said, what about Motiga at that point? From the viewers, Totoran says, let's hype that shit, bless online. Yeah, boy. Next gen, next MMO king, next best of the best, most original, sexualized, best awesomeness, never seen before made mechanics, best 2-week spotlight on all game websites, $100 early access, closed beta test, open beta test, 3 years, shut down after 1 year, or fade into obscurity, crappy Eastern MMO. Yeah, boy! Let's hype that shit. Love the hype you guys do.
I just want to officially state that was not me.
Totoran, I hope I read that and gave it justice the way you were imagining it in your head as you typed it. Go ahead, Jason.
Lucivex Treasure, on a day when we cover 3 games shutting down, Lucivex Treasure says, A bomb to the sky is falling naysayers. They crop up in every game, and frankly, it's always annoying. Just go play another game. You're not doing anything for this one.
I think she's more to the point of the people that jump in a game and are like, this game's failing in general chat and stuff. Go ahead,
Even matter, they'll jump into World of Warcraft and go, oh, it's dying.
WoW is dying. I don't know what you're talking about. Go ahead, Troy.
It's not. It wasn't even a top 10 revenue game last year.
Right? And they got an expansion this year, too. WoW and SWTOR closing. Go ahead, Troy.
But
Daniel
WoW's supposed to stick
Oppenlander.
around.
There is a big point you all forgot when you talk about MMOs. You say Bless doesn't have anything brand new. That is true, but for a lot of MMORPG gamers, we love the RPG, meaning we love story. I will play Bless, but not for the new MMO stuff, but for a new world and a new story, like a new movie, smiley face.
Fair point. I would
And
argue.
a new movie lasts you 2 hours.
Fair point. I would argue.
Which probably has more story than Bless will have.
I play Final Fantasy XIV, which on the MMO front doesn't necessarily offer anything new, but I play largely for the story. Daniel, you're dead on. Paolo Bornfly says, A-bomb to Troy for his reasons to hating Bless, because it's grindy. It's the worst excuse I ever heard for someone that's an MMO. Oh, questioning your status here. Veteran.
He won't be the last one today.
Veteran. If you play MMOs, you are to expect a grind. Hell, you played Marvel Heroes for how long? How many things do you kill over and over and over in that? Do better. Wait till the game comes out, regardless of if it's innovative or not. Then if it fails, or if it's what you say, pass judgment. Then, being in Games Press, you got to do better before the hate is thrown. Still love you, though. All of you. We love you, too.
Love you, too.
Go ahead, Troy.
You know, you got to take that in context a little bit. We are MMO players, and we're talking to MMO players. We all know our games have grind in them. When an MMO player speaking to MMO players calls something grindy, it's got to be really freaking bad.
You're such a big baby. Go ahead, Jason. Take the next one.
LNR 2KKA4A says, I only came because of your thoughts about Bless. Dude, from your words, I can only say that 1, you don't know what an MMORPG is. 2, you've never been good in MMORPG. And just to clarify, he says he's talking about Troy Blackburn. Troy Blackburn.
Just in case there's any question who he's referring to.
Yeah, just in case. I'm just glad that you're absorbing all the hate on this site now.
This guy right here.
It's refreshing.
This guy.
So you're just the grumpy guy. I'm the guy with the unpopular opinions. Unpronounceable name. I'm sorry that you feel that way, and your accusations are pretty, those
pretty spot on. Troy, take the next one.
There you go. You got it. Those are bold statements there, Cotton. Especially directed at a guy who, I don't know, for the better part of a decade has been paid to write about, talk about, review, critique, interview developers, and generally be involved in MMO gaming. But yeah, sure. I don't know what an MMO game is. Never been good at an MMORPG, obviously. Obviously, I have no idea what I'm talking about when I come on this show. You nailed it. And all your exclamation points, by the way, they do a great job of driving home your point and the validity of your statements. But all that being said, that's cool. I'll see you in 8 months on Reddit when I upvote your post that says, Bliss is dead, lol.
Oh, my God. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. Go ahead, Troy. Take the next one.
Bomb to Amplitude Studios and their Endless games. If Civilization was a Disney creation, Endless Space/Legend would be a Sullivan Blue Studios product. Imperfect, but beautiful. I don't get the Battle Royale craze myself, but I do like Troy's explanation that it's sort of a lottery game in which you could be the winner this time. It's different for everybody. I love Warframe, but I'm sure running through a procedurally generated stage over and over again wouldn't cater to everyone's fancy. See, not everybody hates me, Mike.
No, just
most of them.
This one is from Mrs. Blackburn. Troy, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Oh, wait. No.
Damn it.
I told you to stay off the internet.
Def Mad says, Dub Bomb to horror mature MMOs I'm sure many people forgot still exist. Requiem, released in 2007 and still going. I just wish more people played. I wanted to get into Requiem so bad because I love that whole dark. That's why I was looking forward so much to World of Darkness, knowing that probably was never going to see the light of day. I just could never get into Requiem. Go ahead, Jason.
You'll probably be shocked to hear this, but it's an Asian MMO with no invert camera, and I played a lot of it.
Wow.
I was just bored for a span of about 3 weeks or something in 2008 or whatever. I looked it up, and there it was. I played around in it for a while, so yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, anyway, so Blaine Fiasco says, with Paragon and Paladins, I'm starting to realize something. Companies need to stop making non-card games with cards as the items.
Stop making non-card
games with cards as the items. Seriously, the system lends itself too well to being pay to win, and no one likes them in a MOBA or hero brawler anyway. I wish companies would be creative or unique without being tedious and annoying. My kind of take on it is they want to be able to brand it as a card game to get the Hearthstone audience or whatever. When really, on some level, it's no different than something like League of Legends, where you go to your shop, you buy the boots and let you move faster. It's a little thing in your tray. This just happens to be a card.
The problem is that's not what it is. They want to sell them RNG.
That too.
Like a CCG is what they really want.
Yeah, In terms of the actual gameplay, it's still the same thing. You get +1 speed or whatever.
Blaine Fiasco, right. Preach it. Preach it.
Finish off the bombs, Troy.
Mr. Sanchez, Dub Bomb to prescription safety glasses. So more having to wear normal safety glasses over my regular glasses. I assume that's supposed to be so no more.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be so no more. Question of the week last week, and this turned out very different than I thought it would. What's your favorite solo game to kill time when you aren't feeling social? Why? And this turned into a bunch of MMOs. Which was not what I was expecting. I was just like, hey, what do you throw in on your PlayStation and just, game, or throw in on Steam and just game when you don't want to. But it turned into a lot of MMOs. Elusive X Treasure Search for the question of the week. It depends. I have 2 modes. Story mode, in which I want to get immersed in a world, and technical mode, in which I care mostly about just gameplay aspects. For story mode, I play character creation open world RPGs, i.e. any Elder Scrolls or Fallout game or Kingdoms of Amalur: The Reckoning. These let me roleplay in my head. In other words, which character I made determines what quests I'll do and how I'll do them, whether or not I'm willing to commit criminal acts, and how I'll respond to NPCs. It makes a different experience every time. For technical mode, I play any Disgaea or Disgaea universe offshoots, like McKay Kingdom. I like creating a platoon of unique characters with which to delve into the item world or the Cave of Ordeals and the like. So that was the type of answer I was expecting, and then we spun off, Jason. Go ahead, take the next one.
Blue Rayon says, my favorite solo player game I'm playing is Black Desert Online. I open it up and see how much relic shards I fished up in whatever event, and then go and sell and watch my bank gold go up. Then I simply go back to AFK fishing. Best idle game that was free for me because some streamer was giving copies away to whatever they get for gifting a copy.
Nice. Troy?
Oh, Reverend Namtub for the question of the week. My favorite go-to solo game is Warframe. No way, he says. 95% of my game time is with the solo setting set on anyway. The last time I played with randoms was about 3 years ago. Even the daily sorties are doable solo, although I will skip a day every now and then if they're too annoying/difficult to solo.
Continuing on with the MMO train, Kinetic Fetus says, I actually use Path of Exile for my solo playing game. I've only grouped one time, and that was to help a person from a stream. Jason.
I have never grouped in Path of Exile. I didn't know it was multiplayer. Hey, Direct Skyshadow, this is question of the week. My favorite solo game is probably Divinity Original Sin 2. But as free-to-play games go, probably Warframe. Just go on some random missions and farm for hours. No human interaction. Just me, some adrenaline-inducing music, a lot of dead enemies, and none of the drops that I intend on getting. So, yeah.
Troy.
Using Go says, Hearthstone might stream it, but then it's going to be a socialist talking to a rock. And if Bless will be, I assume so, grindy game that has hours upon hours of simple grind, I'm going to love it. I haven't seen anything nearly as good as Lineage 2 in ages. Good grindy games are that some of ours need. Some of us need. Okay. There have been few around in the past, but either their graphics are horrible or combat system is so dated that heck.
And finally, Def Mad says, question of the week, favorite solo online game at the moment is SWTOR, with Secret World Legends in close second. So it's... Jason, it's the old topic you and I talk about. Nobody plays MMOs as as MMOs anymore. Question of the week this week. What's the next game in the free-to-play space that will shut down, and why? So I'm not asking you, will WildStar shut down this year? Will this shut down? Will Star Wars shut? What is the next game in your mind in the free-to-play gaming space? Don't care about what genre, just as long as it's free-to-play, that's going to shut down. Why? Let us know in the comments below. While you're there, give us your weekly bombs. Da bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad, or if you have questions for the panel, throw them in there as well. Until next week, Troy, where can everybody find you?
For right now, find me on Twitter at NoobFridge. My schedule should be calming down in the next 2 weeks, so we'll get some streams and a solo podcast running where I will go into depth and ramble for 30 to 45 minutes about my Bless Online hate.
Oh, my God. Jason, what about you?
Find me on Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne, a.k.a. magicman. You can follow me personally on Twitter right there at magicman1, MAGICKMANN1. But more importantly, while you're there, make sure you follow at MMOBomb so we can tweet you all the game shutting down news you could ever want and giveaways for games that are soon to shut down, I'm sure. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.